So is anxiety real? Yes. Is stress real? Yes. But the question is, what is causing the anxiety? Would you agree with this? Fear is not the enemy. Anxiety is not the enemy. Worry is not the enemy. Self-doubt is not the enemy. Lack of confidence is not the enemy. Do words matter? Does what I say matter? Does how I think matter? Do my thoughts matter as it relates to how I feel? Do you have a lot of stress in your life? What kind of stress? Emotional stress, mental stress, physical stress, financial stress? What about excessive worrying? Worrying. Hi, Susan. What about worrying? What about ruminating? Like constantly ruminating. Shalom, Shelley. Ruminating on the negative stuff. Some may be real. Some may be, you're projecting out what might happen in the future. Let me give you a definition, and somebody write this down, please. I want to give you a definition that may shift your way of thinking about stress, worry, anxiety. Let's talk about stress as a category first, okay, for just a moment. And let me ask you a question. Would you agree that we have circuits in our brain, right? Brain circuits that turn on or off. Is it possible to think about when the stress circuit turns on, it releases neurochemicals into the body? Okay, let's just have a foundational understanding, right? We have circuits in the brain. We have our motivational circuit, right? We have our love circuit when we feel love and we feel, we love somebody. Those circuits are turning on or off. And is it an agreed definition that everybody's brain has circuits that turn on or off like a light switch? And would it be true as well that when the stress circuit turns on, right, the calm circuit turns off? Calm, okay, is one circuit where we're calm and even and harmonious. But the stress circuit, when that turns on, all right, it releases neurochemicals, specifically cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline. Those are the neurochemicals that are flowing in our blood, okay, when the circuit is turned on. So let me give you a definition first. I'm going to give you some things to think about. The definition of stress, according to John Assaraf, is when the current or future demand, exceeds our current or future capacity. Would you agree with that? When the current demand, okay, or a demand that we believe we're going to need in the future, financial need in the future, exceeds our current capabilities, okay, exceeds our current capabilities. Now, what capabilities am I talking about? Could it exceed our current mental capabilities? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't have the answers. We don't have the knowledge. We don't have the skill. So we are worried. We have anxiety, right? So when the current or future demand exceeds our current or projected future capacity, then we release those neurochemicals that cause us to feel stressed. And when we think about what we feel, because those neurochemicals, okay, are traveling through our bloodstream, if we think about how we're feeling and we don't like how we're feeling, then we think about what we don't like, and then we reactivate these neural circuits. Does this make sense? Let me know if the definition makes sense, because if the definition doesn't make sense, what I'm about to share with you doesn't make any difference. So if the current or future demand exceeds our current capacity, that's what turns on the switch. Could the current demand be a physical demand? Maybe you're a parent or a spouse, a husband or a wife, and the current demand on your relationship, or what your kids may need, is exceeding your current capacity for whatever reason. So physically, you may not have the capacity in the moment, or you're projecting in the future the demand, and you release the neurochemicals of what you believe might happen in the future, but you're feeling it in the moment. So the demand could be financial demand, exceed your capacity, physical demand exceed your capacity, mental demand exceed your capacity, emotional demand exceeds your capacity, and that's when the circuit gets activated. Does this make sense? Let me know with a love or a comment, okay, if the definition makes sense, all right? So is it possible, okay, that you can have more control than you actually are experiencing? And so is anxiety real? Yes. Is stress real? Yes. But the question is, what is causing the anxiety? Would you agree with this? What causes you to have stress may not cause me to have stress. Let's say you're in debt, $100 or $1,000. For some people, that doesn't cause any stress. But what if you were in debt $1 million? That for some people causes stress, for others it doesn't, right? So anxiety, okay, and stress, okay, is nothing more than an automatic reaction to our perceptions, conscious and subconscious perceptions. Would you agree with that? So what causes you stress may not cause me stress, and what causes Mary stress may not cause Gia stress. So stress is very, very individual, right, Tim? So Tim says, when the brain does not know how to achieve a thing, it causes stress. Yeah. So think about this. Can you all see behind me? There's Einstein over here, and there's Frankenstein's monster up there. Can you all see that? Do you know why I have Frankie's monster there and Einstein over there? Well, let me show you something. Hold on. There's a part of our brain, okay? I'm going to show you a little bit about the brain. All right, there's the left prefrontal cortex right over here. This is the part of the brain that chooses what we want. But this right prefrontal cortex, that's the Frankie's monster, okay, part of the brain, okay? That's the Frankie's monster. And it's always thinking, okay, and projecting into the future, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't know how to achieve this? What if I run out of money? What if he leaves me? What if I lose my job? What if negative? That's what that part of the brain's responsibility is. So when we have a fear that something might happen, we activate the stress circuit, the anxiety circuit, the worry circuit. When we don't have the knowledge and skills on how to deal with the demand that is required, when we don't have the knowledge or skills, that causes uncertainty, right? When our brain releases the neurochemicals of doubt, fear, worry, uncertainty, that is, okay, the sympathetic nervous system activating. Does this make sense? Let me know if this makes sense. Hey, John Wendell. Hi, Shelley. So fear is not the enemy. Anxiety is not the enemy. Worry is not the enemy. Self-doubt is not the enemy. Lack of confidence is not the enemy. But those things get activated when we don't feel safe that we can solve the issue, when we don't feel like we have the resources, financial resources, mental resources, emotional resources, maybe even spiritual resources to deal with the thing that is triggering the circuit. And by the way, this circuit gets triggered at a subconscious level. Ignorance, Danny, is the enemy. Do you agree with what I just said? Ignorance is the enemy. The circuit's firing. The reason you're ruminating over and over and over again about what could happen, what might happen, what if he does this, what if she does that, what if I run out of that, that actually reactivates the stress circuit. And when that stress circuit is activated, we don't know how to release it, let go of it. we have anxiety on an ongoing basis. And then if we think about what we're anxious about, now we are ruminating, we are thinking over and over and over again. And by default, do words matter? Does what I say matter? Does how I think matter? Do my thoughts matter as it relates to how I feel? Of course it does. So ignorance is the enemy. Can somebody tell me what is the antidote, or what is the solution to ignorance? What is it? What is the solution to ignorance? Tell me, what's the solution to ignorance? You're ignorant. You're ignorant. I'm ignorant. What's the solution to ignorance? Can somebody tell me? Charita says knowledge. Wisdom, Brahman Kairi. Training, Mano. Well, the antidote to ignorance is upgrading your knowledge, upgrading your skill, and creating new habitual patterns. Are you aware that if you feel stressed all the time, that becomes a habit? If you ruminate on negative thoughts without knowing how to flip the switch over to positive, empowering thoughts, you develop these patterns that are automatic in habit, right? If you don't upgrade your knowledge, skills, and you practice, knowledge on its own is a waste of time. You have to level up your awareness. You have to level up your skill. You have to level up, okay, how you respond to the automatic circuit called anxiety, stress, fear, worry, etc. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? I mean, like, would you agree that if you were more aware of your thoughts on an ongoing basis, if you were more aware of your emotions, right, the energy in motion, right, if you're more aware of your habitual patterns, if you had awareness and you used choice, okay, to change, you can get better, couldn't you? Many years ago, I met this guy. Some of you know this. He not only became a friend, he became a student. He was my trainer. When I wanted to get into really good shape, I hired him as my trainer, and he was really, really brilliant. He taught me that some of the stress that I was experiencing was because of my dysfunctional breathing. I was breathing really shallow, and especially when you get stressed. How do you breathe when you get stressed? Back then, I was breathing really shallow all the time. I didn't have a lot of energy. And he started to share with me that, number one, there was a direct link between my breathing and my anxiety and stress, and also my energy levels. Does anybody here want more energy? Like, do you want more energy? Because there's a critical link between breathing and your cellular energy, which is at the mitochondria. You know, in the middle of your cell, there's something called your mitochondria. And the mitochondria is what gives you energy, right? It releases ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the molecule that releases the energy. And would you agree that you and I are made up of energy? It's not like I don't have energy. You are energy. I am energy. But if your cells are not releasing energy, if you're breathing shallowly, then you're not going to be able to really develop, okay, the energy that, you know, can be released from you. And when we have dysfunctional breathing, it wires your nervous system to a stress anxiety mode. So this is a cycle, a loop of obviously your thoughts, your emotions. But when you don't breathe properly, what happens is you have too much CO2, carbon dioxide, in the blood, and you want to learn how to release the CO2 through a variety of different breathing. You know, I call them innercises. And when you do that, you can not only activate more of your Einstein brain and quiet that stress, anxiety, and worry part of the brain, but you can have a lot more energy. And when you deactivate Frankenstein's monster and activate, Einstein, yes, Delroy, you slow down, and in many cases you can eliminate the fight, flight, or freeze reaction that when we are under stress and anxiety and ruminate negatively, we're releasing what I call the disempowering neurochemicals. And we started off earlier saying, are we energy? Yes. Do we have calm circuits in the brain? Do we have worry circuits in the brain and fear circuits in the brain? Right? And so, F-man, to your point, yes, plants grow with CO2, but humans don't. We release CO2 and we take in air and oxygen, air, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, right? So when we do this, when we learn how to breathe properly, we can deactivate the stress, worry centers, but there's also breathing exercises that you can release some energy. Hey, this is John, and if you liked that video, watch the next video because it is packed with things that you can do right now to achieve success way faster than ever before.